Que onda, locos? This is OG Loco, back for my weekly live update. I have little Wayne here. There's little Vato. Hey, little Wayne. Can I talk to you for a minute? You know that Vato Grand Champion El Chuco Loco? I want you to handle that for me, all right? Grand Champion El Chuco Loco. Famous old family red match dog. Not a lot of his blood around, but if you read a story, he was pretty popular back in the 90s. That was Little Wayne, still available if anyone's interested. I got a new pup last night. I'll be showing her later this week. She is she's part of my blood off the Chinaman Old Family Red. I think she was a great granddaughter of OG Loco's Lady in Red. So OG Scooby is her great-great-grandfather, and OG Knox was her great-great-grandfather. Crossed on some Alonzo blood off the Maniacs, Jesse James stuff, and some pure Redboy. So I'll be tightening her up right back to probably Scooby if he's still alive in a couple years. If not, it'll go to Corvino and Scarface. So I'll show her. I really like this pup. I'll do a little skit on her. So today, let's see, we'll talk a little bit again, some philosophy. I think I'm going to, a lot of my past, I don't really tell people, but I've been tested a lot. And then when you're tested, those decisions that you make define you, your character, but also, you're making the wrong decision, you go down one path versus the other. I'm not going to get too much into some of the stuff I went through, but I do think it is important on the lessons learned that I could share some of those experiences and how I dealt with them, and hopefully share that with people that are dealing with similar experiences or have dealt with similar experiences. So we'll talk a little about that. Let's see, we'll talk about some stuff I'm doing with the Redboy, Old Family Red, stuff I want to do this year, next year. A little bit on breeding, what the plan is. And then we'll wrap it up with my pure Old Family Red blood. So we'll get started, man. Just let people load up a little bit, getting my coffee. Oh yeah, to my future sponsors. I smoke Seneca cigars. Very cheap cigars. The reason I smoke them is because in a lot of places where you can't smoke cigarettes, you can smoke cigars. A lot of places where you can't smoke cigars, you can smoke cigarettes. So these Senecas cigars, because I don't smoke cigarettes, look like cigarettes, but they're actually a cigar. So I'm able to get away smoking those until they catch on. They typically catch on as, that's a cigar, that's not a cigarette. You gotta put it out or leave it. I'll have at least one or two. So that's the Seneca, man. I represent Seneca a lot because I puff on those. So send me a check, man. If you hear this, just send me a check. So there's something new that I'm doing. We'll see how this progresses over the next year. I have 52,000 followers right now on Facebook on the OG Local Family Red page. I just started an OG Local Old Family Red YouTube page. I'm hoping over the next years take these 52,000 followers from Facebook to also subscribe to my YouTube channel, and that would be allow me to get compensated for some of these lives I'm doing, podcasts. I don't know if I'll go into full podcast, but at least the lives and where I share products and things like that on my live posts. Whether I keep my Facebook page or not, I'm not sure yet. I have been flagged a lot where they've threatened to take it down. I think at this point, after, what has it been, 10 years? When I started, 10, 11 years? If it continues, I'll probably just delete the OG Local Family Red Facebook page, and then just switch over to OG Local Family Red YouTube page and start broadcasting off that. That would require you to subscribe to see the videos, and you'd be able to get access to it live. So I would encourage you all, 52,000 of you, to go to YouTube, look for the OG Local Family Red YouTube page, subscribe, like the videos, and see if we can get this going over the next year or so. So that's my plan for this. So I talked about dancing with the devil. You know, I've danced with the devil plenty of times in life. God, as far back as I can remember as a kid, I go through ups and downs, or I start doing irresponsible things, get in trouble, and then pull myself out of it, and then fall back into it, and then pull myself out of it. It's just sort of been that battle, a lifelong battle. And, you know, right now I'm in a really good place, so I've learned to manage my demons. My demons are sleeping. They're not bothering me right now, so I'm very positive in light, and I'm just loving life right now. So as long as I can keep those demons sleeping, I'll stay out of trouble. So I got to keep it down, Little Wayne. Little Wayne, get over here. So let me tell you this story. People really understand what I went through when I moved from Southern California to Oregon. You know, I was different. Let's just say I was different. And something I didn't know at the time, but I know now, and it sort of makes sense, was Oregon was had Jim Crow laws, sundown laws, up until late 70s, early 80s. Some of these cities up here. I was born and raised in a multicultural area in Southern California. I had friends of all races, all backgrounds. Everything was pretty mixed culturally. So I wouldn't say that racism doesn't occur in Southern California, but it wasn't like what I was experiencing up in this new area, because I was different. And it wasn't so much that they just didn't like me for who I was. It was like they didn't like me, or they were concerned about me for what I represent. Let's say it that way. And I wasn't doing myself any favors either. I was out doing my thing. Nobody could tell me what to do. I didn't listen to nobody, and I didn't have friends or family who were pulling me aside and say, look, if you don't stop the shit you're doing, you're going to get in trouble. Well, when you're running free and independent and free-spirited, sometimes you have to learn the hard way. And, you know, they started trying to rein me in. And basically what I learned was, in the city you live in or area you live in, don't piss in the wind, you know, because you're going to get piss on you. So that was the lesson. You know, reason in my hometown, I am very quiet. So, and we'll talk about, I was in a squeeze play. I don't know if a lot of people know what a squeeze play is, but there's a backstory to where I'm at this point in life. I've already Been running OG Loco for a while, like really local. Running, I was Chicano biker, independent biker, and just doing my thing. And I had already had a lot of law enforcement. I was like, I couldn't go nowhere without getting pulled and detained and checked and warrant checked and I want to search you. And it was just assumed every time I pulled out of my yard, I was going to get pulled. So that's how bad it was. Many times I got pulled several times a day. So I couldn't have nothing on me. I couldn't be drinking. It was just, I didn't want my bike to get confiscated. It was my big thing. So I'm dancing with the devil, and I was really living what you call a rock star lifestyle. Sleeping till 1 or 2, starting my day with a drink, a shot, tequila, a little, little chronic, and then stay up all day, all night, keep a little go-go juice, kept going, and ultimately wasn't really eating, just living that lifestyle, and had to take Valium to fall asleep. Pop a Valium about 2, 3 in the morning and started all over. So I was in a bad place. Not something I like to talk about, but in reality, that's what was going on. So about this time, somehow I got a reputation with local law enforcement that I carry a loaded weapon. I don't even know where that got started. I think I know how it got started, but by this time it's been 4 or 5 years. I've been OG Loco, and I've been getting pulled over quite a bit. They were actually really looking to put me in jail and prison. It was a conscious effort by law enforcement. I know they won't admit it, but it was. And I'll tell you how I know. So about this time, I had already been arrested 1 or 2 times, just stupid shit, nothing serious. But they had already inventoried all my tattoos. So they took pictures, inventoried them, probably put them in the gang database, I'm assuming. And I have original and gangster tattooed on the back of my arms, and I have OG tattooed on the back. That was my road name. I went by OG Loco. That was my road name when I rode. Wasn't affiliated with any gangs, but that's not what local law enforcement thought. They thought I was, well, who knows what they thought, let's just say that. So one day I pulled in my yard, see all these cops, 5, 6 cop cars in my front yard. And I was like, I had my license. My license had been suspended, so I wasn't supposed to be driving on it to work and back. So I get out of the car. I don't know what's going on. And sheriff pulls up, walks up to me, and he says, what are you doing driving without a license? He knew I had a suspended license. I was like, hey, man, I had to run an errand. Yada, yada, yada. That wasn't his big concern. And he says, word on the street is you're packing a loaded gun in your car. And he goes, I'll tell you what, you let me search your car, and if I don't find one, I'll go tell these motherfuckers they're liars. This sheriff's telling me this. First time I've really had like an honest conversation with any law enforcement because I had always been pulled over, ran, and never really talked to them. I was like, yeah, man, go ahead, search my car. Goes through my whole truck. He goes, all right, man, I didn't find a loaded gun. He goes, you're good. I was like, all right. Oh, and I was a cocky motherfucker too. Because I remember when I was walking up, when he tells me this, he goes, hey, word on the street is carrying. I said, I don't need a fucking gun to take care of myself. I handle my own business. It was like, I don't need a weapon to handle my business. Um, so he probably thought like I was fucking little cocky. But I don't. I don't need a weapon. I could take care of myself. So I was like, all right, man. Oh, and this is what he tells me. This is how I found it. He goes, you ever wondered when your name pulls up while we got 6, 7 cars on you? I go, I'm starting to look around my yard. I'm like, well, now that you mention it, I've always wondered why you guys pull up, 4, 5, 6 cars deep on me every time I pulled over. And I'll tell you what, in my life, I've had more law enforcement pull guns out on me than anyone else in history. Okay? I've been around some bad people, but law enforcement has pulled more guns out on me on stops and stuff than anyone else. And there was many times I was one wrong move away from I felt I was one wrong move of making a wrong move, getting wasted by a cop. Just because, they had guns out, they're on triggers. So I don't know what was popping up when they pulled me over, when they ran me. There was something that pops up because they'd always approach me with guns on their hands, and if I made a wrong move, they would draw. So I suspect this sheriff was telling me that I was known to carry a loaded weapon is something that was in their database or when they pull my name. So that's why I think, in hindsight, why I was getting a lot of, I don't know what they call it when they pull up on you and they're locked and loaded and ready. So I asked the sheriff, I go, look, man, I was straight with you. What the fuck is this about? I was like, I've never been to prison. I don't have a prison record. I'm just a biker. Is this because I ride a Harley and I'm a biker? And the sheriff goes, no, we got cops that are bikers too. I said, then why is this happening? What did I do? I said, is this because I'm Chicano from Southern California? And he admitted it. He goes, yeah. He goes, we've been watching you since the day you moved in. I said, at least you're fucking honest. I said, now I know what's up. Is you guys been watching me for what I represent, not anything I really did, because I hadn't done anything. A lot of people were reporting me. So your rap sheet, so those of you who don't know, every phone call that's ever been made on you in your life, the police keep a record of it. To your residence or made on you, true or false, or someone just calling you in. I'm a biker, I'm Chicano, I got pit bulls, I had friends over, I used to have parties at the house. So my rap sheet is probably this high. Even though I've never been convicted of any crimes. Not that they haven't tried. I have been charged, but I was not convicted. But I don't have a felony record. Something I'm proud of. Because in my career, I spent so many years trying to get a degree and become an educated professional man that a felony conviction would have ruined my career and I'd be doing something else. So I'm glad to this point I'm making it to retirement with no felony conviction. Something I'm proud of. Personal gain, even though law enforcement has tried several times to get me convicted of a felony. So that's the story. Now I knew what I'm dealing with local law enforcement, that there's this perception. One is they didn't like what I represented. I think, that was what they were judging me on. They didn't like or they didn't want someone like me in this community. because there wasn't a lot of Mexican or even Mexican American Chicanos up here. Most of the Mexicans that lived here were farm workers, illegal immigrants from Mexico that had come up here, work on the farms and go home. You know, they had me now, OG Loco, bald head, tattoos, piercing, riding a Harley, you know, doing what I want, you know, just not answering to nobody. So the squeeze play, because I was running independent, you know, and I still do run independent. I was caught between the two worlds. I was getting the squeeze. You're either gonna click up or you're gonna stop doing your independent shit. Because either way, law enforcement or the criminal world was putting a squeeze on me. And I'm not saying the criminal world wasn't feeding law enforcement shit on me, but let's just say I was getting squeezed on both ends. So I think that's what caused a lot of it, that, you know, local law enforcement rather deal with the devil they know than the devil they don't know. I was the devil they didn't know. And I was the devil that they didn't want here. And that's the truth. And, you know, I've done a lot of rebuilding, reinventing myself to prove that, like, no, I am a law-abiding citizen. I'm not a criminal. I just embrace my Chicano biker culture, my Chicano culture. You know, that's something I'm proud of. I embrace it. If you have a problem with it, that's not my problem. I can't change who I am. I am who I am. Can't change, you know, what I know, you know, how I was raised, my values, things like that. So those were some of the things I was dealing with, and not so bad anymore. I've been here 25 years now, 25, 26. They don't bother me no more. Normally, if it's a new cop or I'm outside my area where they don't know me, I'll probably get pooped. But the locals tend to know who I am now, and they know I don't cause problems. You know, I don't create drama. My neighbors love me, man. You know, so I live in an area that the neighbors are very supportive, especially with the dogs. You know, I'm running 13 dogs, so my immediate neighbors are okay with it. At least I think they are. They, you know, they don't tell me. Matter of fact, they even feed my dogs sometimes when I'm out of town. I think it's other neighbors or people driving by that report me for the dogs. So it goes back to the whole profiling, perception. Everyone's prejudice. Everyone is prejudiced. I'll tell you that. We all have prejudices. I have my own prejudice, and all prejudice means is you prejudge someone before you know them based on your perceptions of who they are. So we all do it. It's the intelligent person realizes they're being prejudiced and takes a step back and said, look, I'm gonna evaluate and base you on your character, not my prejudices. And then every person's an individual. So by that is, if you could put your prejudices aside and base your relationship with people as an individual and their character, a lot of our problems, we wouldn't have problems, because most people just, hey man, I'm an American. I just love this country and I just want to live life and I want to be left alone. So anyway, that was back when I was dancing with the devil. I was in a squeeze play. I still do run independent, but bottom line was I was uncontrollable. I wasn't under anyone's control, which I think was the big part of it. You know, friends of mine said it's because you're independent, you're a free spirit, and people don't like that. And because people don't like that, they want to bring you under control. You got to answer to somebody. And I don't answer to nobody. You know, I don't. I answer to myself. Because what I learned when I was going through the hard times and I was looking at potential prison time, I was the one in the cell by myself. I was the one talking to the attorney by myself. I was the one going to do the time by myself. There wasn't anybody there to say, hey, it's going to be all right. Most of the shit I got from friends was like, dude, you fucked up. You fucked up. We all told you. So, I mean, that was pretty much it. Then after that, you realize, yeah, it's me. It's only me. I'm the one, I'm accountable for the choices, decisions I make. So, let me wrap up this last story. This went on for years. And I was at a biker run one day, and there was a bunch of bikers. I'm not affiliated with no club or nothing. There was a lot of clubbers there. And so I was just sort of hanging back. They brought in helicopters and they brought in police and substations. And funny part was my work, who I work for was, I worked in transportation, but they were coordinating with the law enforcement on this thing, and I get popped. So I wait for all the patch holders to leave. I go, oh yeah, they're gonna mess with those guys before they mess with me because I'm not wearing colors or nothing. But I'm riding Loco, which is my chopper. It's lowered. It says OG Loco on it, and I was wearing a flannel. And so I'm just like putting, minding my business, following the speed limit, following all the laws. And sheriff hungs a U-turn right behind me, follows me for about a mile. And this is broad daylight too, on a main highway. So they light me up. I was like, okay, I knew they were going to light me up. I'm clean, but I know I'm clean. So I pull over. When I'm getting off my bike, I reach for my wallet to get my license and insurance. And boom, get on the hands up on the floor. Hands up. I'm like, hey, I'm cool, man. I just got my wallet. Man, they were going to shoot me. They were going to shoot me because I reached for my wallet in broad daylight. It was crazy. So that's how bad it was. They ran me. I was clean. They just told me, get out of here. And, don't come back type of stuff. But, yeah, that was my life dancing with the devil. And when you're living that lifestyle, you're going to deal with that type of drama. Now I'm just like, hey, I don't really go nowhere now, man. I'm just my dogs. I ride once in a while. I stay to myself, type stuff. So that's the history is, for those people who do not believe profiling does not exist, it does. I've experienced it a lot. And people in law enforcement profile you. People profile you because they think you're doing something illegal or criminal when you're not, until they get to know you. Even then, they're always looking at you at a side eye and they're weary because they don't really believe you. They just think bottom line, they just think they haven't caught you yet. Whatever, man. Think what you want. Let me light up. Now we're going to get into the dog Seneca. So, let's see. Little Wayne, get over here. The little dude's, he's a trip. So let's see. What was I going to talk about? I was going to talk about my Redboy, Old Family Red, something I want to do. So as I take these breedings and I'm evolving now, it's like, where do I take the OG local blood? Where does it go next? How do I keep these dogs working at a really high level so that they're game and, they're working and I'm not getting any inbreeding depression. I'm keeping hybrid vigor. I want to keep my dogs hot, popping. I want to keep them going. And because, as I'm breeding a working breed, it's important that these dogs work, at a high level, and they have the drive to work. I don't need dull dogs. I don't need yard ornaments. I need working dogs because I hunt. So I got the Mayday crosses. I got the Chinaman crosses. I got a Redboy cross. I'm going to do the Weird Jack cross. And then I got some new blood on the yard too. And I get a lot of dogs offered to me. I just don't have enough room for all of them. I wish I did. I wish I could take everything that's offered to me and see if it works out and blend it in my program. But one of the things I'm doing with 2 adult females, I have 2 pure OG local family reds. I got Cajun Belle. She's supposed to go back and breed to a pure Kobe dog by Pete Kobe. We're trying to pull that off this year. If I could get it done, she'd be shipped back to Georgia, bred, and then shipped back to me. But there's a lot of logistics of getting that done. And then timing it on her heat cycle, and then 3, having the money to ship her and breed her and ship her back. So a lot of things are going on. So after that breeding, or if that breeding doesn't get done, I have 2 pure Redboy dogs that I have access to. That I wanted to cross my whole family reds on. So I was thinking I have one or the other, and I was like, well, I have 2 adult pure family red females that I could actually breed them both to these 2 separate Redboy dogs and see what I get. So Lady in Red, she just bred OG Scooby, her sire. She's due in October. And after that breeding, I'm thinking of shipping her out to breed to one of these pure Redboy dogs. So I think I've solved the problem. This is all planned, thinking it takes a lot of coordination to get it done. So one of the pure Redboy dogs is a well-respected dog man that I feel honored that he would want to breed to one of my pure family reds. So very good blood, heavy on the Holland blood. A very tight Holland bred Redboy dog with they got quarter out on the Pit Island Boomer blood. Okay, and I really like the way that Holland blood clicked with Bingo off the Haymaker stuff. This stuff didn't have Haymaker in it, but it's still heavy Holland blood. And I hear that dog is a really good game dog. So my guy in Texas, OG family, hopefully we could put it together that either Belle or Lady in Red go to that male. Probably their next heat cycle, 6 months. And if I pull that off, that'll give me a new blend of this Holland Boomer blood mixed with my pure family red blood that I can start blending into my program. I'm thinking 5 years down the road. So there's one option. The other option is a pure Pit Island Boomer dog that I just got a pedigree on that I can breed to. And he has no Holland blood in it. It's actually all Pit Island Boomer, heavy Pit Island Boomer. And I'm really interested in him because I haven't done the Pit Island Boomer cross yet. And I hear a lot of good things about the Boomer blood. So I'm hoping to pull that one off too. Probably either, again, with Belle maybe. If we don't do the Colby breeding with Belle, then Belle, I think I'd ship out to Texas to get bred to the Boomer dog. If I ship Belle back to Georgia to breed the Colby dog, then I would have to wait for her next heat cycle to do that. So those are my plans. What what I'm trying to achieve. If you look what I did over the last 35 years with my OG local dogs, I took Hemphill Klaus blood and I blended it with Hemphill Wilder blood, and just really like stirred it. It became a pure strain, a pure blend strain of OG local family reds. It was heavily lime bred and family bred off the Hemphill Klaus, heavily lime bred and family bred off the Hemphill Wilder. I brought those two lines together with OG Bull and Allison's No Bones About It. I stirred it up real good, blended it. Then we created a new strain, a new pure strain. Very pureed blood now. And that is my OG local family reds. So my next thinking is, well, I can't keep breeding back into my same blood, if I want to keep them working. So my thinking is using the Redboy blood. It's a red strain. Those dogs typically look like old family reds. They're going to be red noses with gold eyes. A very well-known deep game strain, which is what the old family reds were known for when Bob Hemphill said they were the gamest ever bred. And I'll get into what I think he meant by that. So it only made sense for me moving forward to do the same thing with the Redboy blood, is cross my pure old family reds on some pure Redboy dogs, and then start crossing those and then stirring and pureating again until I now create a pure OG local family red that has Redboy in it. So those dogs, if I do it right and I make the right crosses and it's all off working stock, 5-6 years from now, should look like an old family red with the dark red nose with the gold eyes and red toenails, but should have a lot of the traits of the pure Redboy dogs. Should be deep game, long-winded, good bone, high prey drive, probably going to be screamers, which I don't like, but that's what you get with the Redboy blood. So the thinking is I will have a pure red line, OG local family red, which purified through crossing the pure Redboy with my pure Hemphill Klaus, Hemphill Wilder blood. There might be some genetics in there because it's not really clear if Redboy had Hemphill blood or not, if you go back to the story. Either way, he's heavily Colby bred. My 44 Magnum dogs did have a line of Colby in them through Fonseca's Pinscher, which was Heinz old bred on some pure Colby stuff. So there is some Colby blood in there. So it should work. That's my think. And those I'm hoping will be available to the public. Get some of these working red dogs in the right hands that, prove the strains, prove the new genetics with the Redboy blended with the old family red. See what we get. Hopefully it works. So let me go into what Bob Hemphill meant when he wrote in, I don't know, was it 1940, 1950? We're talking history here. When dogfighting was legal in the United States. And he had created a strain of dogs, old family red nose, that he advertised as the gamest ever bred. Okay. And you got to remember the pit bull breed started about 1890, 1900. So 40 years into breeding, he was able to make the claim by 1940, 45, that his Hemphill old family red-nosed dogs were the gamest ever bred. And he was competing in the fast lane against the best in the world. So he could walk the walk. He could back up his talk, and he was proving that. And what he wrote in there was, when family bred, okay, that was the key term, they will take their death. They will scratch to their death. Two things out of that comment I took. He qualified it when family bred, And then he said they will take their death. And you got to remember at the time, this is pre-Dido dogs hitting the scene. In those days, the gamest dog was the last one to scratch. Okay, that's how you determine gameness. It was a scratching game. They used to brag about 20, 30 scratches, with no turns, no hesitation. So I think that's what Hemphill was talking about at that time. He was advertising as the gamest ever bred that these dogs were going to keep scratching. Sort of like the Redboy dogs in the early days, that they just keep coming. They were going to keep scratching. We were going to have to kill them. And they weren't going to cry or jump the wall or quit. They were going to take their death like a warrior. It was like, I'm bred to scratch. I'm bred dead game, deep game. And I think that's what he meant when they'll take their death. So that's what I felt Bob Hemphill was advertising. What made the Old Family Red Nose strain unique is that they would scratch, they'd continue to scratch, and they would scratch to their death, and they would take their death. If they died in battle, that they would take it like a warrior would take his death. Let's see, a good movie. Let's see, Magua. At the end, when Magua, Last of the Mohicans, when he gets in that last battle and he knows he's done, they broke his shoulder, and he just takes his death. He just stands there and like, he took it, and without crying or screaming or begging. So that's what I always think about when Bob Hemphill made that the Old Family Red Noses would take their death like a man. So that was something I was thinking about, is how do we get these dogs in the future that are deep game, high prey drive, that they're not going to quit. And if we're out hunting, we run into a bear or we run into a cougar or a mountain lion, that they're not going to hesitate and they're going to take their death. And what people don't realize, I breed a lot of dogs for hog hunting. A lot of those dogs get gored. They get gutted. They get hooked, where a hog will hook their belly and open them up, and they die. So that's why you have to run them with Kevlar. Otherwise, if the hog gets in there, it will hook them. Some people don't use the Kevlar, and they lose dogs. Some people do, because those boars will open them up, will gut them. So, and those dogs, if they get gutted and their intestines are spilling out, they're going to keep going. They're not going to stop. Probably bleed out. They'll die from bleeding out. So that was the thinking of crossing the Redboy stuff with the Old Family Red well into the future. I think it's the evolution of the Old Family Red breed. I think it only makes sense at this point to start blending the two bloods, to puree them, to create a new strain of Old Family Reds. And hopefully, if it works out, and I'm using good working blood to do this, that I will create a new strain of Old Family Reds in 5-6 years, using the Holland blood and the Pitt Island Boomer blood. So that's the thinking. And we'll see what happens. And partnerships really play a role in this, because this only works because of OG family. The connections that are made, the people that are seeing OG Local Family Reds as a working strain of pit bull now, people who are respecting, valuing the blood now, and now are interested in partnering on crosses to make these dogs better and keep the blood alive, keep the old Family Red blood alive well into the future. It's still a part of history. So that's where OG family plays a big role in this. And for those of you that want one, it's really, like I said, you gotta take the risk, man. Because we put a lot of money out to get these breedings done. A lot of people put time, but nobody wants to take the financial risks. If I look at every breeding I've tried that didn't work out, I think we spent like $5,000 on OG Locos Jinx when we AI'd her to her sire, Auto Rocket, and we didn't get nothing out of it. So there was a lot of time driving to the vet, driving to get her AI'd, and she only had one puppy, and the puppy died inside of her. So, you're like 3-4 months of time, and you're like 4,000 or 5,000 of spent money, and you have nothing to show for it. So that's probably more the issue with breeding, that I got a litter of puppies that I'm going to sell for $2,000 each. If I get a breeding where I have a litter of puppies of 10 that I could sell at $2,000 each, $20,000 on that litter, I'm lucky. I'm fortunate. And it doesn't really happen a lot. But if I can, and that does happen, that's where your time and investment has paid off, that you get some return. But normally I don't sell all those dogs, so it's going to be maybe a couple I sell. Most of it we keep, and they go to OG Family. And we don't have enough pure OG Loco Family Reds. So now this is leading me into, I'm going to wrap it up with this breeding I just did of OG Scooby back to his daughter, OG Loco's Lady in Red. I have people that are interested in that. It's going to start at $2K. I mean, just to start. You're going to be on a list, and there's no guarantee you'll get one, just because I don't know what we're going to have. And OG Family is going to get their pick, and then what's ever left, will be offered and available. And several people, they want that blood, and that's a good breeding. This is something I haven't done yet. OG Scooby is a bulldog. He's really game. And he comes off a bulldog that was really game. So it's generational Scooby. It's not only is he a bulldog, but he produces it because his daughter's a bulldog. And he's produced some hog hunters too in other yards. So he's both he's a bulldog and a producer, and he comes off a line of producers. So the breeding potential is there of breeding him back to his daughter because she's a bulldog. So by doubling up on breeding OG Scooby back to his daughter, I'm hoping to capture those deep game genes, those working ability traits that happen, and create something. It'll be broodstock because inbreeding is broodstock, but then they're good for outcrosses. So I'm really thinking about keeping an inbred male off Scooby. He's getting old now. I don't know how many more years I have with him, but I do think I need another pure old family red male on the yard to blend with Scarface. So if I kept an inbred Scooby, maybe I'll keep an inbred Scooby son and inbred Scooby daughter. Inbred Scooby son, now I could breed to gingerbread. I could breed to all my females, on the yard. Gingerbread being the pure one. And if I take an OG Scooby, pure OG Scooby daughter, I could breed to Scarface and keep that line going. So that gives me 2 options by keeping a male and a female. So that's what I'm really thinking. So we'll see what happens with that breeding. We'll see. We'll get that done. I don't know how many she's going to have. I don't know how many are going to live. I don't know how many will be left over once it's done. And then you got to raise them. Then you got to raise them to 2.5. Then they got to be breedable. They have to prove they're working dogs. Then they got to be breedable. Then they got to prove that they're producers, that they produce working dogs. So there's a lot that goes into breeding a dog to get it to a breeding potential in 2-3 years. because you want the best working dogs to be in your breeding program, and you got to school them, you got to bring them along, you got to call them, you got to test them and call them, and make sure you're picking the best to move forward with. And that's how a family breeding works. Oh, that just triggered what I wanted to say with Bob Hemphill. So in the old days, they called them old family, or they called them family. And many of the early breeders, if you go back to Colby, Leitner, Confeely, Shipley, and then the breeders that followed them like Hemphill, Klaus, they were line breeding off certain dogs, and they created a family tree. Okay, so that's what Bob Hemphill was speaking about, is when you family breed, meaning all his dogs at that time had gone back to Leitner's Vic, which was the dog he was line breeding off the old Leitner dogs, Centipede, Leitner's Vic, stuff like that. And he was saying, by capturing the Leitner's Vic genes that were in Centipede and a lot of those Leitner Vic dogs that were around that he was using and family breeding and line breeding off of, that they were the gamest ever bred when family bred. Okay, that's what he was saying. And that was true of a lot of the early breeders. Colby did the same thing. Leitner did the same thing. Klaus did the same thing. Corvino did the same thing. So that's where that term family comes in. Now, the early immigrants that came to this country from the dogs from Ireland and England, they had already been breeding fighting dogs in their country for hundreds of years before they came to America. So old family meant like you're in the new world now. And so you're here in America. America's a new country. A lot of immigrants are still coming to America, and they're bringing these fighting dogs from their native countries to America. And people were like, well, how are they bred? And there was like, old family. This is old family, from my private stock. It's been in my family for hundreds of years. So they were called old family. And from Ireland, those dogs that started to look red nose, recessive red traits, they would just say that's old family red. That's how they got the old family red trait, or coined the term old family red. So it's family breeding. I think what I saw in probably last 20 years, we don't do as much family breeding anymore. Not like they used to back in the old days. A lot of, it's best to the best now. Meaning you're taking this champion and breeding that champion, and you're hoping by breeding them that you produce champions. And they call that best of the best. Some of it, people might call it scatter breeding. Some people would view it as you're just gambling that the genetics are going to click. Just because they're both champions doesn't mean they're going to produce champions genetically. But you're gambling on that by breeding a champion to a champion, that you're going to get champions. So that becomes best of the best breeding. And it worked for some people. For some people who have had success, but long term, it hasn't shown to be successful. It just, if you're not family breeding and you're not testing and culling off a family line, long term, that strategy doesn't seem to consistently produce good dogs over time. And it's like anything in life, you can do one great breeding and produce one great, and go to the top, go from the bottom to the top of one great breeding. Okay, it worked, it clicked. But that might be your only claim to fame in life. It might be you got lucky. Versus the family breeder who says, I'm going to keep improving my dogs over time, and they're going to evolve to where over time that they're going to be consistent. Like I like the train, chug, 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 just gets stronger. Your line gets stronger. It gets better. It gets faster. It just keeps chugging along. It's lasting the test of time. That's a family bred dog, and that strain of dogs consistently by family breeding in different yards, different dogmen's homes, different standards, consistently is shown to be a solid working line. And that's what family breeding is, how I feel it's different than the best of the best. And I'll wrap it up with this. A family bred dog that you could, like an all-around dog that you could go do a lot of stuff with, is different than an ace. Okay? If you are, let's say back in history, prior to 1976, if you were breeding a match quality dog open to the world, you wanted to breed an ace. There's been very few aces in history. Dogs that were unbeatable. They went into the best. Zebo was one. Angus was one. Very few dogs that are considered aces. And you got to remember, that's how rare an ace is. An ace is a dog, typically I think it used to mean you got 3 kills, 3 matches, 3 kills in the pit, or 5 matches, 5 kills. I can't remember what the standard was to become an ace. I think it might have been 5 matches, 5 kills that you were branded an ace. That means that dog had no weaknesses. He had mouth, he had wind, he had intelligence, he had gameness. He had it all. He had no weaknesses. And when he was competing, nothing survived. Nothing survived against him. And so that's how rare an ace is. And to breed an ace, you basically have to take several families. And let's say, here's a good example. Let's say I have a pure Redboy that's going to be deep game, wind, good bone. That's what that family is going to bring to the table. And then I'm going to breed like an Eli, pure Eli dog. That's going to give me hard mouth, ruggedness, straightforwardness. And then I'm going to bring, let's say, a pure Bolio dog or Tombstone Bolio dog. And that dog's going to bring intelligence, wind, and gameness. So by bringing these 3 families together and blending them, you're hoping the pups, they get a good balance from each of those families. They're going to get traits from each of those families to where you create an ace. So where you're going to produce dogs that have it all, that have no weaknesses. They're going to have mouth, wind, gameness, bone, you name it, they have it. That's an ace. That's what an ace is. And that's how hard it is to breed an ace. Now, aces, some went on to be good producers, but many of them didn't, okay? Because they weren't bred to be producers. They were bred to be match dogs. And back in the day, you weren't you had your brood stock, and then you had your match dogs. Your match dogs were never really meant to survive. And back in the day when it was legal, you went into top competition. Many times your dog, even if it wanted, didn't survive. Or if it did survive, it's not breedable because it lost its breeding parts, or it's just not a breedable dog because of the damage it took in battle. But those were your match dogs. They were never meant to be bred. The rule of thumb was if you had a grand champion or an ace, you bred to his sire or you bred to his dam because they produced that. That was the brood stock that produced that ace or that grand champion. So rule of thumb was look at all your great dogs, and if you wanted to start a family of dogs and you wanted those traits, you look at the sire and dam as producers, and you would breed off the sire and dam to produce similar dogs to that champion, grand champion, or ace. So that was the thinking. So I always say, like, look at family bred dogs, and certain families are going to have certain traits. And for me, OG Local Dog is because I hunt. There's certain things I look for as a hunting dog that, I like to go hunting with. Intelligence is a good one. Gameness, good mouth, good wind. Because we're going to be out there. We're going to be out in the bushes, and we might be out there a couple hours. I need a dog that wants to hunt for a couple hours, not I'm tired, I don't want to hunt no more. So I sort of learned that from the Jag Terrier, the Terrier breeders, that they test their dogs on how long it'll hunt and how long it'll hunt underground. And I know a breeder, I think he tests them for 10 hours. Those dogs cannot quit hunting for 10 hours. That means if they go underground, they're not going to quit. Many times, that's why you need shovels with those terriers. A lot of them will die underground. They'll suffocate, especially if they get in there with like a skunk or something, and they get skunked. They'll suffocate from that. So, for me as a hunter, I like dogs that are going to run the bushes. They're going to hunt. They're not going to quit. They're going to keep that prey drive going. They're going to keep looking. But those are the traits I'm developing for the OG Local dogs. With good mouth on them, good ability. So that's the latest and greatest. I encourage you guys, look at OG Local Family Red's YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the likes. I'm going to be cross-posting for a while. And then, depending on the next year or two, I may just go strictly YouTube and get rid of, delete the Facebook page. So at least the people that are following me have subscribed, and they are followers of the OG Local strain, and they're not people that are looking to, like, I got you. I'm sure there are some people with Humane Society and law enforcement that are monitoring my page, and probably the feds. I assume that. But I'm not doing anything. I've been straightforward. But calling a lot of the 52,000 to actual real believers in keeping the blood alive is important to me. And then I'm coming close to retirement, that I'm going to be getting out of the dogs in the next 10 years, definitely. So I want to get some of these breedings done, pass them off to the next generation, and hopefully they could take what they learned and take it farther than I ever did. So that's really the goal. So again, thank you guys for listening. OG Local Old Family Reds. Por vida y para siempre. If you don't know what that means, it means forever and ever, for life, forever and ever. So I'm out of here. Later.